You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that's on all the time, anytime. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all content. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday. I hope you're all staying safe. I hope the week has been well for you. I hope you have something planned for the weekend. Tomorrow, thank God it's Friday. This is episode 6, season 13 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. In this episode, we are previewing the Cincinnati Bengals versus Baltimore Ravens in a matchup that determines the winner of the AFC North. Before we get into that, there's a couple things I'd like to say up front. Check out the previous videos if you hadn't already. I had 4 videos go live last night. The Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys preview that will go up as well, hopefully today as well. And then the Lady Terrapins preview tomorrow. We talked about the men. They played they played Rutgers. The ladies play Michigan State this upcoming weekend. So we're tuning in for those videos. But before we get in, but also too, I wanted to take this opportunity to clarify some comments that I received. I made a short on the YouTube channel in regards to a video talking about, in one of the videos, in regards of the whole situation with Damar Hamlin and the progress that he's been making. And there was a part of it that I clipped where I was thinking about T. Higgins. And there were some comments where people may have assumed that I was assuming that he was responsible for the hit. That was not my intention. My intention was clear of not be thinking for one second he had anything to do with it. He was not responsible. That was a freak accident. Just like Damar Hamlin, his PR said, if you're supporting Damar to bash T. Higgins, you're not supporting. Now, there have been people that have done that. Particularly, I was on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter a lot, and there was a lot of Twitter spaces where we opened up the conversation thinking about T. Higgins as well, because we have to think about from his psyche what he's going through in that moment. Because what happened was not his fault. That was the point I was trying to get across. Then this really, I should have been more clear with who my intended target, who I was talking to more. And that was Bart Scott. Because Bart Scott was the only one in the media that came out and tried to point the finger at T. Higgins the way he led with his helmet. And he should not have done that. It took Stephen A. Smith to clarify his comments when Bart Scott should have done that. But when you look at the short, all I did was come to a man's defense. My intentions, it was never any intent to say he was responsible for what happened to Damar Hamlin. That was not my approach. And then for those to say that I was seeking personal attention or being this big YouTube star with the way I presented how I was presenting the short, that's a reach. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just offering my opinion. I'm offering support. That's all I was doing. Like, we have to think about, again, how he's feeling in the moment. When you see a picture of him consoling his mom, you have to think about that, ladies and gentlemen. What's going through his mind? What is this here? I'll get to that comment in a moment. I'll get to that in a moment. But I just felt that it was right for me to clarify some things and make sure that that was my intent, because I understand that right now everyone's frustrated and looking for someone to take their anger out on. And we have to understand in this moment that the most important thing is, one, Lamar is making good progress. Like, I was reading an article today, and it's good to hear, because this was the first time he spoke out since what happened Monday. He talked about, and I quote, they said everything's okay. He's doing good. So I'm in a good place now. This was him having a conversation with Lamar's mother, telling me that she's thinking of me, praying for me, things like that. She's telling me that he's okay, and that's just good, positive stuff. Like, he even gave his perspective. And I quote, at first, quote, me being a football player thinking he just flopped, I looked and I see what happened, just turned my head and tried to think about it. I knew it was something crazy, something tragic. It was hard. Obviously, I wasn't in a good place the rest of the game, so I'm glad we chose not to play. Like, again, in that moment, I have to also think about him. What's his mental psyche like? That was what I was saying in that short. But I think I could have more clearly cleaned it up more. And again, not my intent to make T. Higgins like he was responsible for the hit, because it was a freak accident. And that's all I'm saying. And I'm going to leave it at that. But one thing I am not a fan of is that when we're in the media, we have an obligation, we have a right to do a couple things. Number one, we have to hold people accountable for what they say and make comments. It would have been nice if Bart Scott would have came out and made those comments and cleaned up what he said, because the way he presented it, and for people to still defend it and act like, well, it was a general statement. No. That's not how it came across to me. Because if anything, he should have been the one to clean up his comments, not Stephen A. Smith. But there's also two people that are in the media, like Skip Bayless, who stands by the one tweet that he's been getting flack for. He's not walking back on that. I'm just saying that we have to think about how T. Higgins is feeling in the moment. That was my point, and how he's been processing all that. So I'm glad to hear that he's doing better. And I'm going to continue to pray for him, but I'm also going to continue to pray for Lamar. And that's where our focus should be. And as we transition, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Thank you. As we get into the review with the Ravens versus the Bengals, the AFC North matchup, this determines who wins the crown for the AFC North. Cincinnati's reigning supreme. It's looking like Lamar Jackson will not play for a fifth straight week. PCL injuries are not as easy to recover from, and I understand that. From what I saw today on Twitter, I follow the Ravens on their Twitter page. Anthony Brown was actually taking some snaps with the first team, but I still think Tyler Huntley would be the starter. But it wouldn't surprise me if you see Anthony Brown get some snaps out there. When at this game, the big things out for me is we're now going to 30 days plus and Lamar's not out there. I would have just appreciated if they said we're just going to get him ready for the playoffs. I don't really know how both teams are feeling in the aftermath of Monday night. Me personally, um, I don't think they should be even really playing, honestly, because got to think about everybody's psyche and getting back on the field, because I'm not comfortable with them going on the field right now and so fast. Um, but I look at the Ravens. Um, the last time we saw them in Cincinnati, the Bengals literally whipped our ass, because, I mean, we had guys off the street. Um, it was a mess. Josh Johnson was our starting quarterback in that game. He didn't do too bad, but um, I think Joe Burrow had the most passing yards in an NFL game. And I got some flack because I think the week before, if I'm not mistaken correctly, I think we played the Broncos, and everyone was on us for continuing the streak when the game was over. But that's on the subject of the video. Um, we did beat them. The first time this season was 1917. I don't really see much. The key for me is our defense. It's going to have to start defense. I am not sold on this offense. We are 3-2 without Lamar. This team is just struggling to score the ball. Our red zone offense is atrocious. Tyler Huntley has thrown for 650 yards and 2 touchdowns and 3 picks. I think the key, other than the defense, is you've got to control the Gamecock. You've got to keep Joe Burrow and that offense off the field as much as you can. But your red zone offense has to show up. Your red zone offense can't be Justin Tucker, because that has just been what I've seen this whole year, and it's just embarrassing. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, to me, has been looking really good in his return, but I need Gus Edwards to get involved more. Gus Edwards just had 2 yards on 3 carries, which was very, very disgusting. Cincinnati is a run to me. They have a run heavy defense, so I think they rate 5th in allowing yards against the run. I think it's like about 107. Compared to the first matchup, we ran the ball 155 yards on 28 carries. We know what that offense is in Cincinnati. It's arguably a cheat code. You've got the LSU connection, and you got the Clemson connection, and T. Higgins with Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst is coming back, and I can't forget about Joe Mixon, painfully. What concerns me is, how do you contain that again? You didn't have Roquan Smith, big difference. Marcus Williams, I still don't think is ready to come back. But in the first matchup, we contained Joe Burrow for 217 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Jamar Chase had 7 catches, 50 yards. Hayden Hurst, to me, was the star in that game. We're 24th against the pass, and we allow about 230 yards per game. Calais Campbell and Marcus Peters are back. I think having Calais Campbell back, especially in that run defense, makes a big difference, because let me back up. Regardless of Calais Campbell not being there, my expectations for that run defense is still high. It's next man up mentality. To allow a Pittsburgh Steelers team to rush for almost 200 yards without Calais Campbell, that is utterly, utterly atrocious. And I'm hoping to see better, especially containing Joe Mixon. I'm just not confident in this offense. I'm not confident in it. Like I said, the Baltimore Ravens are our first round exit. I'm just, what do you want me to say? I can't defend what I've been seeing all year. The wide receivers, they have been non-existent the last 6 or 7 weeks. Mark Andrews, teams scheme him up. Once you take Mark Andrews away offensively, we are nothing offensively. And I just don't know what else you can really, really do in this game other than just run the ball. But I think also I got to have some wide receivers. I got to have some help. I need Demarcus Robinson. I need Devin Duvernay, Prochet. I need some type of pulse, like something. like act like you care. Like last time I checked, y'all get checks too. I and also too. I mean, we can talk about injuries, but injury should never be an excuse. It's next minute mentality. Yes, it's different than having Ronnie Stanley, Lamar, Bateman out there healthy together, but that's no excuse. It really should not be an excuse. So I'm not confident in this game. I just think that the Bengals are the favorite to win, and I'm leaning that way. And unless Baltimore just goes in there and just completely stuns them, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be with our defense first, and it's going to have to be creating turnovers. It's also going to be our offense. That's going to be the key. But I don't see the Ravens winning the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals win the AFC North final score. I'm going to say 30-24.
Guaranteed.
I don't see it. Bengals all the way. Someone told me the Rams aren't a serious franchise. Sean Spencer, you're banned from the comments. I heard the plan: if the Chiefs win, they'll clinch number one seed. If they lose, they'll do a coin flip as on the Bengals versus the Bills as number one. The Chiefs are playing the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders aren't playing for anything. I mean, they're putting in Josh Staham, like. It's a wrap for Las Vegas. I feel bad for Derek Carr. He's getting scapegoated. Carson will be free in a couple of months. No, I can sign Trevor Siemian or Mike Glennon. I think that's who Washington should sign too. You take Mike Glennon, we'll take Trevor Siemian. I think they'll be good. No, but in all seriousness, like if Baltimore had a couple pieces other than Mark Andrews, they had a healthy offensive line, a consistent passing scheme, I give a chance. But what I've seen these last couple weeks, I mean, I'm just not sold on it. I'm really not, and I think John Harbaugh sees it because to me personally, if you're Greg Roman, your job to me is definitely on the line. Well, your job, actually after the Pittsburgh loss, it was over. But if you got any chance of proving to Eric DeCosta and Steve Bisciotti to keep your job, you better pull everything out the bag in this game. You have no options because, like I said, honestly, his time was up after a few weeks ago. It was times up after last week's loss. That's just me. So those are my keys. Wow. Carson, Trevor, or Mike. LOL. Shoot, at this point, bring back Jeff George. Josh Johnson, we could have signed him. But I like Anthony Brown. I think Anthony Brown's going to get some opportunities to start in this game. He's shown he helped the fort down that Pittsburgh game. So he's got some potential. Let's get in the final
incoming message.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
I'm happy to hear with Damar Hamlin, he's making great progress in terms of he was able to write to the doctors who won the football game. That really put tear to my eyes a bit. That put a smile on my heart. And his doctor's response, you won life. It's just amazing what God can do, ladies and gentlemen. Prayers and just him fighting. I'm just so thankful that he's making great progress. And like I said in the previous video, I'm proclaiming he walks out down that hospital on his own power. And I'm glad to know that his dad had a press conference with the team, which really puts their minds at ease. I'm also glad to hear that his mom reached out to T. Higgins, put his mind at ease. That way there's a sense of calm. There's a sense of peace. Because you have to think about what's going, like I said earlier, you have to think of what's going through their mind. Now, this is something I also wanted to bring up too, and I think this was interesting. We all know that the NFL looks bad in terms of the guaranteed money for players. Players should be covered entirely, guaranteed. It's interesting to know when players retire, they lose insurance after 5 years. That can't happen. I think that's embarrassing. I think that's disgusting. For someone that's played 13, 14, 15 years and you're telling me I lose my insurance, that makes no sense. Now, if the NFL is smart, they make sure that those hospital bills are covered. Because from what I understand is you don't get a pension until 55 in the NFL. No, that pension should kick in the moment you call it a career. I'm very disappointed. I saw the video on Twitter, and I need to, if I remember, I'm gonna put the link in the description. Shout out to Jay Crawford. He's part of this podcast. They're in Cleveland, and I forgot the guy's name, but he was speaking a lot of good facts. But the NFL should do right by these players, not just DeMar, but other players that have gone through this same issue, where let's just say, God forbid, tomorrow DeMar Hamlin can't play football. That's money he's lost. We got to think about that. The NFL, if they're smart, and also to the Players Association, because that's what they're there for. They're there to fight and speak on behalf of the players. Because what has to change is emphasis on player safety, but also to guaranteed dollars. I think a minimum they should be guaranteed the first 4 years should be guaranteed when they come in the league, whether you're drafted or not. It doesn't make any sense. The pension should be moved at least, give it like a year after your career is over. Because sometimes guys backtrack and say, I think we'll give it one more year, blah, 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 blah. Like Tom Brady, for example, right? I think it should be a year that your pension kicks in till you're 55, where you're here. Like, for example, that pension money, they could use that towards doctor bills. They can use that for other things. They can use it for their health insurance. So I'm just very disappointed that in terms of the financial recovery, that's the conversation that we need to have. If the NFL is smart, they will ensure that his salary is guaranteed this year and give him some more money than what he's currently getting for his current contract. That should be what the NFL should be doing. It shouldn't be, well, we're sorry he got hurt. Thank you. It's like filing for disability almost. We'll put the claim in and we'll get back to you within about 6 months. No. That was life. That could have been life altering. So there's a lot of things that need to change. And I'm hoping that in the next CBA, that should be the first thing to be discussed. Guaranteed money, changing the age of your pension, but also to when players that are not having guaranteed contracts in situations like this, what part does the NFL play in responsibly, especially recovering some of that money? But I already know the Buffalo Bills, they got that covered. They're going to make sure that man's hospital bills are paid. They're going to make sure he's straight. He ain't got to worry about physical therapies, all that. He's straight. They're going to make sure he ain't got no bills. So I want to see that for not just for those that are coming into the league too, but those that are currently in the league too. Because it's just sad to see a lot of great players that have played this game You hear so many sad stories. The great Junior Seau, having the brain of a 90-year-old. That hurts your heart. Tua, I think having 3 concussions. In Miami Dolphins, that's on the subject for another video. But there's a lot of stuff that, as a football fan, I'm not liking, and it has to change. And those are the things I would also change. I would also really also say this. Please take a listen to what Dominique Foxworth said a few days ago about him being part of the NFL Players Association, what he would like to see. I would harp back on that, because what he said as well was very, very important, especially if we're trying to, especially the things that we want to see changed. So that's all I'm going to say on that part as well. So that's going to conclude the episode. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I'll be back with painfully previewing the Washington Commanders versus that team in Dallas. Washington, we're going to win the football game. So thank you for tuning in. Be tuning in for treats. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Y'all have a good night. Take it easy. I'll see you in a little while.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Thank you. And you help me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you.